Thanks for joining our Oracle Digital Assistant Customer Success Webinar series. I'm Jürgen Kress, part of the Oracle Product Management team. Today's webcast is the third in a series to learn from successful customer projects. The webcast is live and on-demand recordings will be available. For details, please see our newsletter and subscribe to Oracle Video Hub channel. In today's presentation, Ryan Patrick and Martijn de Grunt will present an enterprise chatbot for human capital management to support employees. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Jürgen. Thanks for inviting me.
So you're an expert on human capital management and you have been a former Oracle employee.
Indeed, I worked in Oracle for 13 years in the HCM Development Center of Excellence. And then about 3 years ago, I left and set up Occamonics to focus on ODA for initially HCM, but then more broadly, the cloud applications.
Excellent, thanks. And with us is Martijn de Grunt. Martijn, good morning.
Good morning, Jürgen.
So what is an Oracle Digital Assistant, Martijn?
Yes, well, it is basically a conversational interface on top of, an Oracle application or any other sort of data backend, and you can just talk or chat to it, and you'll get the information you need.
Cool. So based on Oracle Digital Assistant, customized bots can be developed or pre-built SaaS skills and templates, for example, for HCM or Oracle Service, can be leveraged and extended. Skills and templates are available for almost all SaaS services, including HCM, service, sales, expenses, logistics, project management, and on-premise applications like PeopleSoft and Siebel. Objective of today's webcast is to introduce Oracle Digital Assistant skills for HR, recruitment, and hiring, and to learn from successful customer implementations. So let's get started. Quick housekeeping, please ask your questions via the Q&A tool. We will use the chat for announcements. Presentations will be published at Oracle Video Hub. And please share your feedback at the end of the Zoom webcast. Today's session is live and an on-demand recording will be published at Oracle Video Hub, including slides. If you would like to learn more, please make sure that you subscribe to our customer newsletter. The newsletter includes all events, success stories, trainings, and technical articles. For our best practice webcast series, How to Build Better Bots, please watch the on-demand series. It's a 6-part series and helps you to create an Oracle Digital Assistant. If you would like to know who are the experts on Oracle Digital Assistant, please visit Partner Finder and you can search for partners certified in your region like Occamonics. If you would like to download additional pre-built skills, please visit the Cloud Marketplace. There you can find, for example, an intra-C chatbot for Oracle universities. If you have further questions and you would like to collaborate, please visit Cloud Customer Connect. This is a series of webcasts. We started the series with an overview of digital assistants in financial services. In January, we had a webcast with GPX for analytics. And today we present you Oracle Digital Assistant for Human Capital Management. The series concludes in July with customer service bots. For details, please visit our website, ODA Success. For today's agenda, after my short introduction, I will hand over to Martijn de Grunt, who will now introduce Oracle Digital Assistant in a quick overview. Martijn, over to you.
Thank you, Jürgen. And thank you for hosting these webcasts. So let me start with a little bit going back to the other webcasts that we done in this series, so that everyone can get an idea what you can do with Oracle Digital Assistant beyond what we do with HCM skills. So the first webinar we did was with Wind, and they showed, for instance, an implementation they done in Egypt at a bank, CIB bank. And I'll go here to their website and they have Saki the bot, and Saki can answer all sorts of questions related to banking. So for instance, if you say, I want a new credit card, I'm pretty sure it will have some sort of answer on that topic. And here you go. It shows the different credit cards that they have. You can go apply for it or ask questions about the credit card, etc. So this was an example of a customer-facing use case on a website. But they also showed during the session an implementation that done over WhatsApp. So this is an insurance company bot that they showed. And basically the flow that they presented here was that you could book a motor insurance and a travel insurance. So I want to get a new travel insurance. Then the bot will ask you all sorts of questions, and that webinar goes in depth on how to do it. What's the relevance for if you're looking to it from an HCM perspective? Well, for instance, this is a way of seeing Oracle Digital Assistant in a channel. So like WhatsApp, but you can also see a digital assistant, for instance, in Microsoft Teams or in Slack, and then it will operate more or less in the same kind of way. So you open up Teams, like I open up here WhatsApp, and you can start talking with an Oracle Digital Assistant. A little bit more closer to home in terms of HCM use cases. We also had another webinar, and I'll show you here the recording. This was about the implementation of Oracle Digital Assistant, more on the topic of HR analytics. So this webinar explains what the digital assistant can do. So it was used, and it shows all sorts of graphs where you can see the headcount, the diversity, who are the new joiners, hires, how many people left in a region. It's used with over 30,000 manager at HSBC. And it's definitely an interesting addition to maybe on top of the out-of-the-box skills that are available from Oracle, where, because you can see they achieve 60% reduction in inbound tickets and 75% reduction in resolution time. So it's also definitely interesting for you all to see what you can do beyond typical use cases that we will show today. All right. Then let me go to the presentation. So what is Oracle Digital Assistant? I'll keep it very short. It is all about a tool that understands language, and you can tailor your use cases, your enterprise use cases into the platform. It's multilingual, and it is what they call a no-code, low-code platform. That means it is relatively easy to implement business requirements into custom flows, and that's something that we will also show today with our partner. An important concept from Oracle Digital Assistant is the concept of skills. Let me try to explain a little bit what that means. So when you have an Oracle Digital Assistant, which is available in, for instance, WhatsApp, Microsoft Teams, or on a website, then the digital assistant can connect to a skill. And a skill is basically a knowledge domain that you implement in the digital assistant. For instance, you can have a knowledge domain around IT help desk and connect something to an IT help desk system, or around surveys and connect it to the survey system, etc. And what the nice thing is that for Oracle HCM, Oracle Recruitment Cloud, and HR Help Desk, we have all sorts of standard skills available. So these are out-of-the-box capabilities that you can use in an Oracle Digital Assistant project. Core topics are, for an employee use cases around finding context absence. We'll dive into it later. For a manager, but also HR help desk and recruitment are interesting use cases to implement with an Oracle Digital Assistant. Each topic has a lot of what they call intent, so a lot of things that it does, with a standard integration, of course, to Oracle HCM, and fully secure. Also really important. So all set up like that. What is more to say about Oracle Digital Assistant? It's a well-recognized platform by the analysts. And we got a lot of references. So not only today we will show that, we also just recently did a webcast with JP Morgan Chase. This is more about the recruitment implementation. Today we'll not focus on recruitment, therefore, but if you are interested in recruitment, I also advise you to take a look at this webinar. So what we want to do today is more focus on typical use cases for HCM. So let me just very quickly, and Ryan, I will not try to steal your show because you're going to have fantastic real implementations. HCM. All right. Oh, sorry. Let me try to do it in another browser. There you go. Right, I might need to start up the demo here a little bit, but this is like a standard demo that we that our team is doing here in EMEA, and it goes a little bit like this. How many holidays I have left? So 19 days. Did I get paid? Sure, and then you get your information and maybe the link to the pay slip. So here you see, you know, absence management, pay, which are core use cases that you can provide to the employee as information. But you can also set up all sorts of other kind of use cases, like my laptop is broken, and if you don't want to implement an IT help desk bot from the beginning, then you can send a link to the user to go to the right place to solve that problem. Or I want to get a policy, etc. This is the topic of today. So how can you really use the out-of-the-box capabilities from Oracle Digital Assistant that HCM provides? How do you really implement it, etc.? And for that, we invited our specialist partner, Ryan. Are you there?
Hi, Martin. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't want to steal too much away from you, but I just wanted to set the stage a little bit, right? What we're going to talk about today. So welcome again. Let me hand it over to you. Maybe you can just start off a little bit with introducing the topic a little bit, and then maybe go into some demos from your side.
So just briefly about who I am and
yeah, let's do
what
that.
Occamonics is. Yeah. So Jürgen mentioned I worked for Oracle for a long time. I set up Occamonics 3 years ago. We focus on ODA implementations for the Oracle Cloud applications entirely. So that is our core business. We've done about 25 implementations along those lines now. What I'm talking about today is Martijn has shown some sort of basic view of how the delivered skills can be used out of the box. And that's really powerful. I mean, Oracle do have about 6 or 7 skills pertaining to HCM that you can just download and start using straight away. But to be successful, one thing that we've learned from working with all the customers we've worked with is you have to customize those skills to the specific needs of your organization and your employees, even from simple things like, you know, the language that's used. And I don't by that mean whether it's Spanish or French, but the terminology. You're probably going to have specific terminology. You might not call employees, you might call them colleagues. So there's from very simple things like that, and then reaching out to much broader use cases. What I find a lot in implementations is that once you get the basics working for core employee interactions, the business pretty quickly realizes, hey, we could use the same technology and apply it to all these other areas in the business. So you kind of start off small and very quickly expand. And what I'm going to show today is some of those expansions, some of those customizations, and some of those new use cases that have really brought value to various customers we've worked with. I'm going to talk about 4 customers today. UPMC is the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Although they started as a university medical center, they're now a global pharmaceutical company. So we work with them on the HCM implementation and some of the recruiting skills. I'm going to talk about Yellow, transportation company, trucking company based in the US. They have a particular sort of distribution of employees, or because most of them are certainly not sat in front of computers, but they're either driving trucks or in loading bays. So they have particular use cases in terms of how their employees can access HCM and the kind of questions they ask. I'm going to talk about Schroders, the investment bank. We've just finished an implementation with them. They have some very specific requirements. They have offices in 40 countries. And obviously there are different policies in all of those 40 countries. So one of their requirements was, how do we get the same question answered in a different way, depending on who's asking it and what country they're in. And I'm going to talk about Yum brands who own Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell, Habit Burger, and a few other restaurants. And again, in some ways, they're similar to Yellow in that most of their employees are not in an office. They're working on restaurants and so forth. There's one particular use case that I'm going to talk about there where we saved a huge amount of time for their payroll team.
Can I ask some questions about those customers?
Sure thing, yeah.
Ryan, so if I understand, there's some blue collar use cases here as well, right? From people really using it probably on their mobile or something. Is that true?
Right, absolutely, yeah. So I'd say Yellow and Yum are the examples of that. Yellow, I think it's about 70% of their staff are what you might call blue collar. So they're, like I say, driving trucks, they're working in loading bays, working in warehouses. And
right.
Of course, they need access to their HR information. They don't have a laptop; they're accessing it on their phone. Any place, perhaps in a noisy environment. So yeah, it's quite a specific use case.
And what about Teams? Are you also using Teams in your implementations as a channel?
Indeed, all four of these customers use Teams. For Yellow, it's for those office-based people. But for the rest of them, yeah, it's in fact in Yum, it's the primary channel.
That's what I also see a lot, right? So MS Teams is a primary channel, also easy to access over mobile. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. All right, and let me think the use cases, right? So and probably you're going to show more of it, but are you also like going beyond typical HCM use cases like absence, pay, and what have you not, but more like, for instance, IT help desk or something? Or are you also moving in that direction with certain implementations?
We've done a few that have gone out, kind of integrating with systems other than Oracle. So we have done one IT help desk application, as well as it was actually an HCM implementation with IT help desk. So we integrated with ServiceNow on that one. Right. But yeah, I think what we find is we start off with sort of delivered Oracle skills, and then the business comes forward and says, "Hey, can you do this as well?" And of course, the beauty of ODA is, yes, you can.
Yeah. Okay. So you've done, for instance, an implementation with ServiceNow. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that maybe sets the stage indeed to go and let's see something, right? You wanted to go to the demos. Let's do it.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah.
So, Martijn, what you showed was obviously a sort of an Oracle environment, very much like this. It had been customized, the chatbot you had been customized. What I wanted to show very briefly, first of all, is what does it look like if it hasn't been customized?
Yeah.
And I want to show that because I want to contrast it to what customers typically do. And making the bot your own is one of the keys to success. So you covered off sort of pay and absence use cases. They are always 100% of the time the two most popular use cases in every implementation we've done. Kind of makes sense. People want to know when they're going to get paid, and they want to know when they can have some time off work. So they're always the top two. When you launch the delivered implementation, this is what you see. So you have a welcome message, and then you have a card for each skill, so each kind of functional module that's exposed. And I'll show you how most of our customers sort of restructure that. And there's pretty much everyone changes that and makes that their own.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, your opening sentence needs to be company specific, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
you showed. Sorry.
No, go on.
Yeah. You showed pay and absence. You did steal my thunder. I was going to show pay and absence.
Oh, but please show it again. Right?
Not at all.
Please.
Yeah, no. So, like I say, they are the top two most used one. But one of the things that sort of pertains to absences as well is the approval skill that's shown here. So you can ask if you've put a request in for holiday, you can say something like, "Are all my requests approved?" And you can see here, actually, it's come back and said, I have got a request for holiday from 12th of June to the 16th of June. This is an American implementation, and it's waiting to be approved. So it's a really sort of ties in well to the vacation, the holiday skill. And you can do the same thing for expenses. You know, if you log expenses, you can come in and ask, are they approved? And also as an approver, so if this particular person is a manager, they can ask, have they got anything to approve?
Yeah, this from the manager perspective, right?
Exactly, yeah. And indeed they have, and you can action them right here inside the chat.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other skills that is I see implemented a lot too, because it's very useful both from the employee point of view, seeing where your requests are, and from the manager point of view, very quick and simple interface to go in and see what you have to do and approve or reject it right there.
Right. Do people start more with employee and then later do manager, or do they start with both at the same time?
I mean, certainly on the approvals, both out of the box, it works well, and it adds value straight away. So that was just a very quick overview of what it looks like out of the box. If you turn this on, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Moving now to one of our customers, Yellow, which is in a different browser. So let me just open up chatbot here. You can see they've done simple things like they've branded it with their colors. It's more orange than yellow, but it's the starting point. And once ODA wakes up, you'll see what they've done with the welcome card as well.
It's probably on a demo environment.
It is on a demo environment. Yeah, you're probably going to see that on most of my demos. Actually, they're all demo environments.
Yeah. So that takes a little bit extra time because of the demo environment. Yeah. All right.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So this is your way of customizing it for your customer, right? So the opening statement compared to where Oracle standard skills have these large forms, basically, right? These large cards. You simplified it. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And the feedback we get is that, imagine if you're opening that for the very first time and you see that whole array of cards. It's overwhelming, it's confusing. Yeah. So what we found in all of our implementations is that we want to really boil that down to the most common use cases that employees want to action. And they're not separated by skill. So they're, whatever you want to do, whether you want to do payslip or expenses or search knowledge articles, they come from across all the skills, and the focus is what does the employee want to do, and just give them direct access to it right there. And one of the other points too, and this is actually quite a long list. Many of the other customers use much smaller lists, 2 or 3. The other thing to highlight in your welcome message is you don't want people to think they have to click a button. Yeah, let them know that they can type in a question as well, because we have seen that people think that's all it does. So just to make sure.
That's the disadvantage of showing a menu.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this is quite long. I would say that I indeed see where maybe 2 or 3 buttons, or even the opening statement says type menu if you want to see the options, right? So there are many ways of doing it. There's honestly not the best way. It depends also on the audience, right? The target audience.
Exactly, and across our customers, they've all gone with got rid of the cards and then have some kind of list of buttons, but the number they have, whether it's 2 or 3, and this, like you say, this one is, in my opinion, too many. But it's down to the customer to really figure out, and you can look at your logs and see how people are interacting with it, and that can give you insight into whether it's working or not.
All right, let's be aware of the time as well, right?
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm probably just very quickly show another skill that's delivered. So there's a skill for knowledge articles. So it allows you to search documentation that you have in your HCM help desk knowledge base. So you just search something like holiday policy, for example. At this point, this is out of the box stuff. I'm going to move on in a second and show you some of the customizations and enhancements we've done. So that's all out of the box. Finds articles, and you can drill into the detail.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask one other question here, which is, actually, before I do that, I'm going to hop back to the out-of-the-box implementation, and I'm going to ask, what is Mike's email? The default implementation of search results for people is it will show you one card per person with a photo, which is great. For Yellow, their employees do not upload photos. So if they kept this mechanism, you just have a broken image thing here, or a no image icon and one card per person, which didn't work for them at all. So one of the customizations they wanted to do was change the layout of that. So I'm going to say something like, what is and again, it's just waking up, obviously. Apologies for that. One of the things you find with the custom components that we use to implement a lot of this functionality, essentially put to sleep after 20 minutes in a test environment, that that's very obvious. Obviously, in a production environment where the usage is much higher, you don't tend to see any side effects of that. But we're probably going to see that today. So they changed that because their employees don't have photos. So that was one of the big customizations they made. They're just going to get a list of the matches when they search for people. Something else they did is they have 36 answer intents, so questions with essentially fixed answers, but they're not entirely fixed because I mentioned earlier about 70% of the employees are blue collar and 30% are office based. The truck drivers and the dock workers and the warehouse workers tend to be in unions. And the office workers are not. And the responses they give to many of their questions, in fact, almost all of them, depends on whether the employee is a union member or not a union member. So the same question, different answers based on.
How do you solve that?
I'll show you. So we've actually built a framework to allow them to solve it without any coding at all. And I'll just show a sort of very brief example. So here I'm logged in as an employee, and I asked about buying stock. I'm told to go off to the Fidelity site. If I sign out and sign in as a union employee, I'll get a different answer to the exact same question.
It's actually a common thing.
Yeah, very common. I'll talk
Yeah.
briefly about another customer as well. So here, exact same question, different employee, different answer.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I also seen examples, for instance, where you have like different departments, and
Yeah.
it's not different. It's more like department A and department B have a different way of a policy document or whatever. Yeah. So same employees, but different departments. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, we set up a mechanism so they can define an intent. I'm looking at ODA here. They can define an intent and then simply have a resource bundle entry for the non-union answer and a different one for the union answer. So it's zero code in terms of setting up once that framework's in place. So it's very simple for them to build those out. Just as a very brief aside, Schroders, who I mentioned, they operate in 40 different countries. So they have the same issue, but it's not two sort of conditions, it's 40 conditions. So we extended the framework specifically for Schroders, and they've made good use of it. So for example, somebody asking about internal vacancies in Australia gets one answer, and in Switzerland, get a different.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, different countries is of course also a logical one. Yeah.
I'm going to show you now a little bit about UPMC. So this is University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. So they've invested a lot in journeys. And
Can you explain very briefly what is a journey?
Yeah, so journeys are part of the Oracle ME sort of employee experience platform that's really coming to the fore at the moment. When an employee has to complete a transaction with the organization that involves a lot of steps over a period of time, not just something you can complete in straight away.
Right.
Then you can set up a journey which will essentially build a to-do list for that person with all the steps they have to do. It will educate them about the steps. So there might be some training videos along the way. You might have to go off and read a policy, sign a document, get a medical certificate, perhaps if if it's birth of a baby, for example. So it sets up that journey, this essentially to-do list, and you can come back at any time and tick off, I've done this one now. What do I need to do next? And get all the learning materials about it.
Thank you.
So they're investing a lot in journeys. They've built out about 7 or 8 journeys so far, and they see that as the way forward for helping employees with the more complex interactions that they have to do. So in terms of what we've done with the skills here in the digital assistant is a very simple thing. What is a journey?
Okay.
And you can, this is an external link, and go off and find out all about journeys. You can view your own journeys that have been set up. This particular person, I think, has one set up. So this is a link into the journey interface. And so they're in the middle of reporting the birth of a child, and you can see here they have the to-do list, and inside these to-do lists there can be, like I say, various things like videos and policies and all sorts of things. Now this is a really great interface for stepping the person through that journey. So we took the decision not to try and build that out in ODA, but rather just to give them, if they're halfway through, it'll give them a link directly into that particular step, so they can resume.
And you can view your journeys, I saw.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's more like the access point, which is fantastic, right? Otherwise...
It's an access point, but you can also start a journey. So if I say I got married, and again, it's starting up. So it sort of tells you about this journey called Report Your Marriage, and what a journey is. And if you think, right, yes, I need to do this, you can go ahead and assign yourself to that journey or start that journey. And obviously it goes off and processes that in the background, and then you can come back in, at any point and access that journey. So it's assigned it now, and if I go to this this page, you can see it started that journey for me. This was a much longer one, that's the employee through it. So that's it's a big investment on the HCM side, and they've used ODA to give quick access to that investment through the chat interface.
Yeah. What about guided learning? Do you do anything there as well?
We do guided learning, yeah. So we often encounter guided learning in our customers. Typically, guided learning is in place. Most of our implementations start after HCM has gone live, and often what we'll do is we'll jump into a guided learning flow from inside ODA. So using ODA as an access point, really, to
relatively similar to journeys in this way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So guided learning for people who are new there on HCM, it's like a way to guide you how to do things within HCM. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, exactly that. So yeah, so guided learning is like just to teach you how to do something that you will then probably do frequently, where perhaps like logging an absence. Whereas a journey is something you're probably only going to do once, infrequently, and it's a more complex interaction. So it takes you through that journey over a period of time.
Sure.
So I'm going to show you Yum. So this is Yum that we've been working with for around 3 years now. And so we've done a lot more with Yum. And in fact, we've been working with them long enough that some of the things we did 3 years ago are now becoming, reaching a stage where we think, actually, there's new features in ODA that we could take advantage of that would really, simplify those or make them a lot easier for the user. And I'm going to, in fact, show a couple of those as well.
Let's do it. Can you say something about the experience from a blue-collar perspective on the adoption of digital assistant, just generally?
I can, yeah. So typically, well, one thing, talking specifically about Yum, is no restaurant workers log into this interface. So Yum have a separate employee portal, which I have open, which looks like this. And we've put the chatbot on here as well, because this is where employees go. Perhaps when they're at home on their laptop. When they're in the restaurant, they use their mobile phones. Yeah. So there is an HCM app for Android and iOS, and we've enabled this chatbot inside that app. So that becomes the primary channel really for restaurant-based employees.
Basically purely mobile use then. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. One thing that Yum do is they customize this welcome card based on whether the user is an employee or a manager, and they try to keep it very current. So, for example, completing your individual performance documents, adding your goals, particular time of year, that's happening at the moment. Later in the year, there might be selecting your benefits for the year, so they'll change these. They keep them very current so that they give employees access to the things that are pertinent at that time. I'm going to show you one use case which we wrote about 3 years ago for the recruiting team. So we'd gone in, done the basic implementation, and recruiting said, actually, can we have a way to search for candidates? Well, there was various use cases, searching for candidates and searching for jobs and so forth. So we built out a flow, and this is one that actually now there's a great feature in ODA, which I'll mention in a minute, that would revolutionize how we did this. But we're just building up essentially a search. So it's asking me, what would I like to search on? And I'm going to say, I would like to search for people who have a master's degree. So it's going to search for that. And I say, actually, I want someone who has computer science. Did I spell that right? No. So masters in computer science. And we introduced the progress bar because obviously this takes a bit of time to process. So we want people to know that actually, yeah, I am going to get back to you. It's not just sort of gone quiet. Now this in the background is going off and executing a BI publisher report. And it's come back and found those matches. Now, this worked well at the time, but obviously in release 22.12, SQL dialogues came out, and that would be an amazing, one of the things we're looking at is switching this across to using SQL dialogues and just taking advantage of the enhancements and in ODA that are coming along. And I think one of the great things about ODA is it does not stand still. I mean, every 2 months something comes out and we're like, wow, let's start using that feature. So that was one use case we built out. We built out several around recruiting. There is a recruiting skill, which Yum use, and there's a hiring skill for hiring managers, again, which Yum used. But they wanted to take some of the use cases beyond what was delivered. And that's one example of about 3 or 4 that we built out for them. The biggest use case in Yum by far and the most time-saving has been one designed to help restaurant managers with a very particular problem that Yum have due to the nature of their business. So you can imagine there's thousands of restaurants all across the US and the world. The employees are paid bi-weekly, and managers have to submit the hours for their employees by a particular cutoff time, midnight on Tuesday, for example, which they do. And then they realize, because of the nature of the fast food industry, Mary's supposed to show up, she didn't, and I had to get Jane in instead, or so forth. So they realize actually they need to add some hours for someone because they didn't catch it in time. The way that used to work is the managers would phone up after, on the Wednesday morning, they'd phone up the payroll team. They'd wait in a queue for 20 minutes till they got connected, because half the managers across the US were doing the same thing. They get put through, and then the payroll team will process the change into the system for them. So it swamped the payroll team, every Wednesday morning, and it consumed time from the managers. So we looked at how do we solve that problem with the chatbot, allowing managers on their mobile phones, there's no computers in the restaurants, to do that same thing. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So in Yum, managers tend to refer to their employees by their employee code or employee number. So Yum asked us to use that rather than their names. So that's why I'm going to type in XA7034.
That's interesting.
Yes. And again, you'll have to.
I will do as a manager then, right?
This will be a restaurant manager. Yeah. So he's filed his hours, and then he realised that SXA7034 actually he had to call her in to work a couple of extra hours because someone didn't show up.
Yeah.
So it says, okay, great. What sort of hours? Was it vacation, sick, honestly? Actually, in this case, I had to call her in to help out. Then it's asking, when it was. And again, we've used a rich interface here. People on their mobile phones found this really useful, rather than having to try and type something in or even speak. Sometimes the voice recognition is great, but when it comes to particular times and dates, it can struggle a little bit. So on their mobile phones, they can just click and say what they want to add in. So for example, say that XA7034 worked from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it's just going to go off to the system and sort of look at what was already logged and ask me to confirm that. So it's saying that they'd already worked 40 hours and they'd already got 20 hours overtime logged. Do I want to proceed? Yes, I do. It's going to add 6 hours overtime.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click that in. At this point, it's doing two things. Firstly, it's updating the payroll system, so live, updates to the database. And then it creates a ticket for the payroll team to review. So the work has been done. They can go in. At the start, they reviewed 100% of these tickets. Now they review maybe 5% because they've gained trust that ODA is doing the right thing. So if they're happy with the ticket, they don't have to do anything. If they think something might be wrong, they can go and actually review what was happened. But like I say, trust in the system now is very high. So really, they just sort of do a random audit of these tickets.
So the head of team decided that, okay, we need to support this functionality. Then they had to make a decision, where do we build this functionality, right? So can you explain why they decided to build this functionality in the digital assistant?
I think primarily it comes down to the means of accessing it. You're looking at the restaurants. The question was, well, what can they use? They have a very primitive back office computer system, which they can't even log into these websites through. So it had to be on their mobile phone. And then the thinking is, well, you can do two things on a mobile phone. You can phone, which is what they're doing today, or what's second best? Well, a chatbot that fills the whole screen. You can talk to it, type in, and it's done quickly and easily.
Makes sense. Are you covering a use case with multilingual as well?
Yeah, so in fact, that's, so Yum support English and Spanish. I'll ask a question in English. What we do on this site is we detect the language of the browser. Obviously, I'm in an English browser, but you can change the language if you want.
Right.
I actually have. I thought you might ask this question, so I Google translated who is my manager to Spanish, and I'm going to paste it in.
Should do the work.
And there we are. So yeah, instantly switches language.
Yeah. Okay. And how many languages have you implemented in, or is there one customer who has used many languages, or is it mainly English, Spanish, what you have seen?
English, Spanish, French are the ones that we've worked with.
Yeah.
So that we've gone live with. We have another customer that's got 8 languages they want support for. We're still working on that one.
Sure. All right.
One thing I've just briefly mentioned, and I hope I've got my microphone set up right, is that you can, obviously the web channel does support voice and on mobile phones particularly, and Yellow use this a lot. Their use cases for their mobile workers are simple, how much do they get paid? So I just point out that this is, who is my manager? You can use voice, and you can use it on the mobile. And I mean, I've been amazed by how accurate the voice recognition is. I think it's just amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I say, for Yum, their employees don't come on this site at all. So they use their mobile phone, or they go to this portal, and we've embedded the chat widget here with single sign-on as well. So you don't have to authenticate again. So you can...
Yeah, and as you mentioned, MS Teams is also used a lot.
It's fine. MS Teams for the office-based workers is the primary channel.
Yeah, at Yum, but at other customers also for the mobile.
Indeed. Yeah.
So if you would describe like the key values, right, that you see across your customers. You already mentioned absence and pay as key domains.
Yeah.
I think you also showed, a good way to get access to frequently asked questions, access to the knowledge functionality you showed. But beyond that, what would you say are like key topics that you see, or is it for every customer different?
No, it pretty much for every customer it's the same, to be honest. And the points you've touched on already are always top of the list. One thing about Oracle HCM is it is a vast application. There's so much you can do in there, which there has to be things like benefits and performance reviews and setting goals and all these kinds of things. And many of those things you do occasionally, once a year. So simply to find the right place to go to start one of those processes, like changing your benefits at the end of the year, is a challenge for employees. So in many cases, the chatbot is simply a platform to get employees to the right place for those very infrequent use cases, and we see that an awful lot.
So I was more asking, like, what do you see beyond absence, pay, and FAQ, which are like the core? What do you see beyond there? And then you say, like, find the benefits, for instance, performance management. Any other things that you say, well, this is actually what I see a lot?
Yeah, we're tying into Oracle Learning, so people can, when they've got mandatory training coming up, again, finding out what's due, getting a link straight into that page, they can carry on with their learning or take that learning course. That's a very, very common one. I mean, there's once you've got those base ones in place, like I say, what tends to happen then is that organizations find particular use cases that are, specific to their organization, like that missed hours one in Yum, and that's where you tend to go once you've got the foundations in place. And I must say that delivered skills are a great foundation. I mean, they do touch most of the points that you see in the majority of implementations. So the starting point is take those, customize them, make them fit, work for the customer, go live on that, start building it out, and then new use cases emerge. And I think that's a very natural way to do it.
From your perspective, do you implement an Oracle Digital Assistant after you've done the implementation of HCM, or do you do it at the same time? What based on the experiences that you have seen thus far, or even maybe before it? I've seen customers also use Oracle Digital Assistant, for instance, before they actually move to Oracle HCM. Right, for instance, if they move from eBusiness Suite to HCM, and they said, well, then people already get used to it, and we can use it in the digital transformation process as an entry point. But what is your view?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a great idea to put it in place before. We are a specialist partner who implement ODA for the cloud applications, And as such, we're typically brought in once the applications are live. So the majority of the implementations we do are in that mode. We have done one very recently that we had quite a tight deadline, and we had to go live at the same time as HCM, which in a way presents a great opportunity because people are going to be learning the system for the first time. So if the chatbot's there right when they're starting to learn it, they can use that as their primary.
My experience is indeed that if you do it rather early on, it actually simplifies the learning curve for people.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other parts of customers that you want to show? You showed so many different angles from so many different customers, but maybe something else left. We have a few minutes.
Yeah, just one thing I'll show briefly is analytics. So how do you improve the model once you go live? And it's really important that you do monitor your logs and look at conversations that are going live. So we've built out a spreadsheet really for customers to analyze their logs, and it augments what Oracle does. So inside ODA, you can go in and look at a question and say, that went to the wrong intent. What that doesn't do for you really is give you an overview, how many, for a particular intent, how many questions were correctly assigned.
So to get this clear, this is an Excel, but it is basically fully integrated with Oracle Digital Assistant, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So we export logs from ODA and we import them into here, and then we let users do an analysis in here. So go through conversations and say, this conversation was mapped to the missing hours intent that I just showed you. Was that right or wrong? And so here's one, for example, this one here. An employee asked, where do you find employee vacation? The bot said, you look up someone's direct reports. Is that correct? No, that was wrong. And so we've said, actually, that should go to absence. And we said, we want to add an utterance. And they go through and analyze their logs like that. And then they can create a file to import back into ODA to correct the model.
Yeah, so this is something that a content owner, I assume, does. What kind of role, what kind of people do that typically, Ryan?
Yeah, no, HR business analysts.
Business analysts, right? So they have maybe in the beginning they do it once a week, and then afterwards maybe once a month or something. How do you see that?
Yeah. Well, so in the beginning we do it every day, because I think one of the things that's important is when you go live, for all the work you've done, by go live, I might mean going into a pilot, but for all the work you've done, people are going to ask questions in a way that you just hadn't anticipated. So daily to start with, then weekly, and then typically you settle into a monthly routine.
Yeah. I also see other things indeed.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just an overall of usage per day, split out by number of conversations, but also the number of users. So on this particular day, they had 40 users who conducted 83 conversations. Yeah. The other thing we do is once you've done this analysis, that opens up the possibility to look at how well we're sort of satisfying user requests. So what I've got mapped here is what the person was actually asking for based on what the analyst has said. So when this person asked for asked this question, they wanted absence. So I'm looking at, based on what they actually wanted, what did they get? And so here you can see that when people asked for pay slip, they got it most of the time. A couple of times it was wrong.
Yeah.
When they ask for missing hours, again, most of the time. So this is all pretty good. The things.
And so I think another thing for the analysis, right, is the fact that you can also, of course, right, if people ask a question and the model is not giving the right answer, that's where you can use this for. But I guess also really interesting to see what actually people are asking in the system.
Yeah.
And see how you can help them then with it, right? So
absolutely.
I've seen customers, right, they start with 50 FAQs and then they build it out to above 100. Just by seeing what's coming in, and then they say, yeah, that's a good question, that's a generic question, let us provide a link or a short answer to that question.
Very common, we see that a lot. The number of answer intents sort of pretty rapidly balloons once you go live and you see what people are actually after.
Well, you can have many in it, right, if you want.
One final thing we gather is how often people come back. So here we've got, in this particular time period, 149 people came back once. So, you know, obviously you want people to be coming back. If they just use the chatbot once and don't come back, that's, you know, that's not really a success. So this is one of the stats we look at a lot, just to make sure that we're people are finding it useful and actually using it again and again.
Sure. Right. Maybe some closing off slides you
Sure thing. Yeah. I mean, we're very close on, very tight on time. I just got 3 slides about how we sort of some recommendations about how to go about a project. The first thing is have clear objectives. You have to know what you want to gain from your chatbot implementation. Many times I go into a customer and they actually don't know, so we sort of educate them about what it can do. One thing, big bang very rarely works. You're much better off starting with a small subset, starting simple and gradually building it out. And like you said, Jürgen, adding in answer intents as you go, as you see people asking particular questions. Chatbots are 100% about the user experience. You do not want people who are sort of technical or designing your chatbot for you. You have to think about what the user experience is going to be. And for example, earlier when we looked at that default welcome, where imagine it's the first time you open it up and you're swamped with information spread across 4 or 5 different cards. You don't even know what the word skill means. That's not a good user experience. You have to put your head in that space. If I'm a user, does this work for me? And build everything out with that mindset. And related to objectives, define your success metrics up front. Case deflection is the gold standard. If you can measure that, that's really what you're after. If you can't, if you haven't got a system in place to compare it to, other metrics are useful. How many times people are using it? What's the success rate? Number of different users and user retention, which I just showed. Just a couple of other things. Running a pilot phase before go live. We always recommend this where possible. It allows you to flush out issues, understand how people are going to be asking the questions, help tune your model before you go live. And this is really important. It doesn't stop when you go live. It starts when you go live, because your ODA implementation is going to grow. It's going to develop. It's going to help people access more and more processes within the organization. So you have to realize that and plan on that. And that's the real key to success.
Right. Great. Then
just for me, if anyone would like to discuss any of their situations, you can go onto our website and just book a quick chat, and we can talk through any questions you might have.
Definitely something that I would advise everyone to do when you're thinking of implementing Oracle Digital Assistant for HCM. Ryan, thank you so much for this very interesting demonstration of what you're doing at your customers. We also got some Q&As. I don't know, Jürgen, is it okay if I discuss a few of them here?
Yeah, wonderful. To summarize the webcast, if you would like to learn more about Oracle Digital Assistant, please visit the Oracle website. The documentation is available, and at the documentation you'll find also some labs for hands-on. Today's webcast is recorded and will be published at Oracle Video Hub, including the presentation. To get the presentation, please log in, and you can ask your questions at Cloud Customer Connect. Subscribe to our newsletter to receive the quarterly updates. And please visit the Occamonics website, and like Ryan offered, he can have a free consultation with you for 30 minutes. So we have some Q&A. Martijn, do you would like to point out some of them?
Yeah, let me just take a few. I see you all answered a few of them in the chat, but maybe it's good to discuss them on public. So somebody asked, can we also integrate Oracle Digital Assistant with Oracle Analytics Cloud? The answer is yes. Yes, there's also real life customers doing it. And we recently did a webcast with HSBC where they actually integrated Oracle Analytics and Oracle Digital Assistant to see, for instance, the HR analytics implemented with over 30,000 managers at HSBC. Another question that I see is around multilingual. And Selina, hi Selina, thank you for joining, by the way. is saying, yeah, so the out-of-the-box skills are provided in English, but I have seen implementations, right, like we have seen here from Ryan, where you can use Oracle Digital Assistant platform to extend on the languages. I've also seen, for instance, in Arabic implementations of Oracle Digital Assistant, and also using Hindi, although I'm not 100% sure on the HCM side, but for Arabic, I've seen it at implementations being done. There was another question, which I thought was interesting, more around eBusiness Suite. So yes, we have customers using eBusiness Suite and Oracle Digital Assistant. And in terms of templates that are available for it, in terms of the fully integrated templates like we have with HCM, Fusion HCM, unfortunately not, but there are templates for eBusiness Suite which you can leverage to kickstart your custom skills. So these are definitely also helpful when you want to implement Oracle Digital Assistant on top of eBusiness Suite. All right.
And there's one question for Ryan, and the customer would like to know if you also offer a service for UK government customers.
We have worked with one UK government customer, so that's certainly something we can do. I mean, is there a specific requirement?
If it's available in the UK government cloud of Oracle.
Oh, it is indeed, yes. Yes.
So to explain it, Oracle offers for dedicated customers like the UK public sector cloud region, which is specifically certified, the same in the US. In case you're a government customer, please reach out to your account manager or to the Oracle team.
Right.
Then the next question is how to connect to backend applications and to company data, and how to start with a Q&A tool.
Shall I take that, Martijn?
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
So in terms of connecting to backend data, traditionally we have done that using custom components. So these are Node.js components that you write in JavaScript and upload into ODA, and they will make REST API calls. More recently, in Visual Flow, there is a native component that can make REST API calls, and we're increasingly making use of that, and it really simplifies the coding. It also simplifies debugging greatly. So that's one way. For Q&A, there's numerous ways to do that. You can import PDF documents that will extract content from questions and answers and build you intents and responses. For conditional answers, like I showed for union and non-union membership at Yellow and various different countries at Schroders, we have a framework that allows you to build out those conditional answers.
Excellent, thanks. The next question is for Solina. How to get ODA approvals on a mobile device and how to keep track of them?
Yes, Jürgen, this is a standard functionality. The approval skills will cover all Fusion application pillars in terms of their transaction notifications, including approval notifications and FYI notifications. And currently, customers can download the HCM mobile apps from the App Store.
Excellent. So if you use the mobile app, it's audited in the HCM system?
Yes.
Great. Martijn, do we have any other open questions?
No, I don't think so. Let me double check one more time.
So thank you very much for attending today's webcast. If you would like to reach out to the speaker team, you can find us on LinkedIn, and feel free to connect also on Cloud Customer Connect. Thank you very much, Ryan, for the excellent presentation and the live demos. Same to you, Martijn. Thanks for being the host of today's webcast. Once you leave the webinar, please complete the online survey and join us for the next webcast on July 25th. Thanks for attending.